well, this vlog is going to start in the same place as my last one. So, that's cool. I mean, we might as well start at the same place, right? Um, I just got to my parents' house, and it takes an hour drive here, so I started listening to The Secret History last night while I was cleaning, and then I listened to some more this morning while I drove and did some things at my house. So I've gotten about 6 hours or so. It's an audiobook. Yes. I've gotten about 6 hours into the audiobook that is 21 hours long or 22 hours long. So, a good little chunk. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So, that is a pleasant surprise. So, essentially, it is about this group of college students. There's 6 of them who have taken a very interesting approach to college. So, they're not doing any conventional classes, or some of them will do a few, but pretty much all of their study is taught by one teacher. And they're doing Greek. So he's teaching them Greek. He's like a Greek teacher, but he's also teaching them pretty much everything. So they all have maybe 1 or 2 classes. Like our main character, Richard, has a French class that's not taught by this teacher, but every single one of his other classes is taught by this teacher. And they are very... they're I want to say they're morally gray, but I don't know if that's even right, because they don't seem terrible. They made a bad choice, and actually the book starts with them murdering someone, and then it goes to the past to work us up to what has happened. So, seeing the story unfold is interesting, and how they got to this point. So, Richard, he is from California and really poor, and he didn't want to. He was doing pre-med and then hated it and really wanted to go to Massachusetts to a college there, but his parents were like, we're not paying for it, you can't do that. He did finally get financial aid. Anyway, he got to this college, and he really wanted to keep studying Greek, and he went to talk to this professor, and the professor's like, I only take 5 students, I can't take you. He didn't end up getting in there, but these 5 students that he has are they're really tight-knit, and they do pretty much everything together, and they have very expensive tastes. There's a couple of them who have a lot of money, and then one who has no money but was raised on very expensive tastes and has been always told to like fend for himself. So he pretty much gets everyone to pay for everything and all of that stuff. And so yeah, they're all very kind of interesting characters. They love the classics and learning, and they decide that one night they're trying to do this almost a religious experience, I guess, of being taken fully outside of themselves and turning into people they aren't, like just being totally taken out of themselves, that they are no longer themselves. So they're drinking a lot and doing drugs, and they have this experience. And this is just 4 of them. Our main character who's telling the story and another guy were not with them. So they have this experience, and when they kind of come to, they have killed a man. They don't know how it happened. They were all really messed up because they were on drugs and drunk, so they have no idea how it happened. And they decide that they're just going to leave. They're all like freaked out. They decide they're going to leave and kind of go. And the one guy who was left that didn't go with him had been trying these things with them this whole time, and wasn't taking it as seriously. So the other four decided to go without him. And then he finds out, and in kind of the roundabout way has found also that they actually killed a man. And so now he is essentially blackmailing them, because he definitely feels left out, and he can get them to essentially do whatever he wants now, because he doesn't want, because the others don't want him to tell. So I'm right at the point where the four tell our main character what has happened. He thought like he was left out of this whole thing because one weekend he finds that they're all going to go to Argentina, and they have bought one-way tickets, but none of them have told him, and this kind of goes on, and they don't end up going, and everything. So it's just a little interesting to see what is going on. In the beginning of the book, the guy that they kill is this other friend who's essentially blackmailing them. So we now know the reason that they end up killing him. But we're not quite sure how that comes yet. So, interesting. And it's weird because usually I wouldn't like these types of characters, but they're all very intriguing, and they don't seem bad. I mean, they clearly are. Even if they accidentally killed this other dude, they are planning to kill their friend who's blackmailing them. We don't know how, we don't know what he does, we don't know how it comes about, but we know he's dead and they killed him. So, yeah, I am really liking it. So, I'm very interested in keep going. I have listened to half of The Secret History. So the first part of it, it's split into book 1, book 2, and I just hit book 2. So book 1 was, so like I said, it started off when they killed the person, and then it went back towards the beginning to show you how it happened. So the end of book 2 is when they kill him. So it's really good. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. So they have killed the guy who is essentially blackmailing them. So he has been, essentially he had kind of gone a little crazy. He would have fits of yelling and different kinds of problems. He was drinking a lot, and every chance he got, he was making snide comments and remarks to everyone and just calling them terrible names and doing all of this stuff. And one night he came to our main character's Richard's room and told him everything. He had said that the other 4 members had killed someone and they had just left it, and he let them know. And then Richard already knows because the other people told him. So we went to him and said, hey, he's now told me. So now all the other guys are like, okay, now we have to do something about it because he told one person and he's probably checking to see if anyone says anything. And if not, he's going to start telling other people. And we can't have that. So they come up with this idea to meet him out where he usually walks and push him off a ravine. So that happens, and that's the end of book 1. So book 2 starts right where it left off. Everyone goes home. It's starting to snow. And everyone kind of has parts of their alibi already in place, except Richard, because he wasn't supposed to be there. They had made it so he wasn't going to go, but he had gone to tell them that that the his name is Bunny. His name is Edmund. His nickname is Bunny. He's the guy they killed. That Bunny wasn't coming, and then it turns out he came. Anyway, Richard was there. He wasn't supposed to be there, so he didn't have an alibi set. So Richard has started to spiral a little. He gets back to his dorm and he wants to take a sleeping pill so he can go to bed, and he doesn't have one, so he goes to the girl who has the drugs, and she talks him into going out with her. She gave him a pill. He's drank a lot. He has blacked out and he doesn't really know what's going on or where he is, or anything like that. So he's definitely not as ready for this as the other characters seem to be. Everyone else seems to be chill, probably because they're the ones who had the most to gain for with Bunny's death, because they no longer have his threat looming over their head. It's going to be interesting to find out what happens, because in the beginning of the book they talk about how, they had just pushed him off the ravine and then it started snowing, and then FBI were called, all these people were involved because it snowed a lot and covered the body and he was a missing person, and so all these people were called in and they didn't find him until like 3 days later. So more people are involved than they essentially thought there were going to be. So it could get messy. Not could. It's inevitably gonna get messy. So I'm here for that. So I feel like I have not updated much about The Secret History. I feel like I did so much more on 1Q84, but 1Q84 was a lot longer than this book. So I have just finished it today. So I started it yesterday, really early in the morning, and I listened to it a lot. So I did just finish it today at work. And I liked it. I was very surprised, actually, because to tell you the truth, I went into it thinking I wouldn't like it, actually. Because I don't know if I explained this before, but I'm a very character driven reader. And I don't even care like about plot so much. I mean, I do, but plot is really secondary for me. I love character stories, character driven stories. I love great characters. I love all of that so much. I can forgive a book with a bad plot way faster than I can forgive a book with bad characters. And that's just how I enjoy to read. I enjoy characters a ton. So I was worried knowing, going into this, that the characters were pretty morally gray and not great, maybe not very many redeeming qualities, and those are my least favorite characters. I don't really like morally gray characters, ones who get away from breaking the law. That's not as too bad, but like I like rules. I like rules, okay? And that's just kind of how I am. So I was a little worried about this. I've read one other Donna Tartt book. I read The Goldfinch earlier this year, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that main character at all, really. He had, to me, no redeeming qualities. I felt like he was a terrible person. And one of my least favorite reasons behind terrible characters is their background. I don't care if you had a terrible childhood. I don't care if you've gone through the worst stuff ever. I don't, I don't care about that. Like, that does not give you a right to be a terrible person. Um, so I have a problem with those types of characters. I just don't enjoy a book as much when it has those characters in it. And I knew that these characters were kind of like that. So I went into this book with no expectations at all. I actually went in figuring that I would DNF it, which is kind of interesting. So maybe that is the reason that I really enjoyed it, because I didn't. I wasn't giving it much credit. That sounds terrible. But I enjoyed it. There's 6 main characters are taking they're like in a classics degree. It's just they're not really living in the present. All of them have quite the air of old school. Like they're dressing up in kind of formal attire a lot, and they think what is normal for a college student is very lowbrow for them. They pretty much, a lot of them have quite a bit of money, and so, they do weekends on one's like acreage. Like, he has a ton of land and a huge house, and they do weekends there, and they do all this stuff that is kind of pretentious. And I felt with this book, what was kind of interesting to me was that it kind of showed what could happen if you were academic in a way that the pursuit of knowledge and experience that way was primary to everything else. Everything took a backseat, whether it be ethics, whether it be um, generosity or morals or anything like that. They did not take any of that into consideration. It was all about the pursuit of academics and learning and everything like that. So they talked about how they're it's kind of another cult. Guys, I'm reading cult books for this. I don't know why, but here I am. Um uh I'm reading Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Order of the Phoenix is kind of like a cult. I mean, it's a good one, but um the Death Eaters. There you go. They're a cult. Anyway, so it's all about this cult was in pursuit of essentially letting everything go and being someone wholly different than yourself. You literally become someone else. It takes, they were fasting, they were doing drugs, they were drinking a lot of alcohol, and they essentially were no longer within themselves. They lost their minds almost. Not almost, they did. And that led them to accidentally killing someone. And even throughout the book, you're not really sure if it was accidental, because most of the information you're getting are from the people who did this killing. And so it's kind of gray. Then they all kind of sort of go a little crazy. They essentially can't kind of deal with what they did and deal with the consequences of doing this and thinking through a murder and all premeditation and everything and carrying it out. So it was very hard for them to kind of come back from that. And you see the effects. And in the end of the book, they all have terrible lives. More than one of them is dead. One tried to commit suicide. There's twins, and the twins no longer talk to each other. One was drinking heavily and doing crazy things. And their lives are in ruins. They're like tattered. No one is happy. No one is thriving in their lives at all. And you see that, and it's just interesting the view Donna Tartt took on it and what actually happens in your lives when you do something that is maybe 100% out of character, and you just keep going through these circumstances that you initially created, but have gone so far that you can't turn back anymore, and something keeps happening. And towards the end of the book, I thought, like, I was getting close to the end, and I thought that if this book was longer, they would start killing off each person in the group to hide that they had killed someone. Because really, once you break and once you're having a hard time and you no longer feel, and the other people in the group no longer feel that you can essentially keep that secret, they take you out. And I thought that that was going to happen. So yeah, it was a very interesting take. It was hard to read in parts, and there were a lot of stuff like, these kids are really despicable. They're not really great people at all. And the journey to see that, Donna Tartt did such a good job with that, because in the beginning, even though I knew that they were murderers, I really liked them. I liked these characters. And even when they were plotting to kill their friend, I was okay in the context of the story, with them killing their friend. Like, I was like, yeah, I mean, he's literally a terrible person. He's doing terrible things, and he's gonna tell. And it was an accident. Like, they didn't really mean to kill that dude. So, But anyway, at the end, I liked the book less than at the beginning, which makes sense, because towards the end they all became terrible characters. They were all terrible, and I think it's, they were kind of showing their true colors. In the beginning, I think they were lying to me as the reader, to the people around them, even to themselves, as to what kind of characters they actually were. And maybe it wasn't very different than them doing this ceremony to become out of themselves so they could do something that was wholly unlike themselves. Maybe it was more like themselves instead of along the line is not. Very interesting book. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I think I could appreciate this, even though I didn't like the characters at the end. I could appreciate what she was doing with the book and where it went, and how everything ended up. It did very much go along with the story really well. 2 books down. I am about 150 pages in Harry Potter. I'm reading the physical book, but since I just got done with the audiobook of The Secret History, I will be also listening to the audiobook, kind of back and forth, like when I'm at work or when I'm driving or anything like that. I will be listening to the audiobook of that. But yeah, update. I almost just cried. Okay, so I got to the point where Molly Weasley goes to take care of the Bogart in one of the cupboards in Sirius's house, and it's right after they find out that Ron and Hermione both got prefects, and she's like, "It's a party, it's fine, you guys do that, I'll go take care of the Bogart." And then Harry leaves the party early because he is upset with a lot of different things, and he walks by the room and he hears someone crying, and he's like, "What is happening?" And he walks in the door and he sees Ron dead on the floor. And then it goes through and like it keeps shuffling through people, and Molly's trying to get rid of this Bogart, and every single time she says ridiculous, it like she's not doing it. She's of course bawling, so she's not confident at all, so it's not going away. And it just keeps circling through, and then it like ends up on the twins are both dead, and then everyone is dying, and when it talked about the twins laying there, I was overcome, okay? And then it stops on Harry, and then Lupin comes in and he takes care of it, but I was just like, oh my gosh. this book's gonna be rough for me. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Guess what it's time for? I got some book mail today, so I thought I would show you. First, it's technically a rebuy. My friend had a birthday this weekend, and I couldn't get anything in quickly, so I looked through my books, and this, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Guys, this is a great book. I love it. So it is about, the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So, this guy essentially, relives the same day 7 times, 7.5, as you will, in different bodies. He starts the same day over in different bodies to figure out who kills Evelyn Hardcastle. And if he gets to the deadline without figuring out, then he has to start all over at the beginning with all of his memories gone. So all of the things he has learned and gathered over the 7.5 days will be gone, and he has to start all the way over and get used to it at the same time and freak out and all this stuff. Really good. So every 24 hours he's in a new body and starting the day over again in a different perspective. So super fun. Great book. A lot of twists and turns, and you should read it. So I gave it to my friend for her birthday. So, like I said, since I couldn't get one in quick enough, I gave her my copy and then ordered another one back for me. And then the other book I got is The Burning Issue of the Day, which is a Lady Hardcastle. Both Hardcastle, Evelyn Hardcastle, Lady Hardcastle. Weird. It is a Lady Hardcastle cozy mystery, which, guys, this series is super fun. It's great. It's funny. Lady Hardcastle is a lady, as you will, who has decided to retire and move to the country. So she has moved to the country. She wants a quiet life. The first book in the series is called A Quiet Life in the Country. She wants a quiet life, so her and her lady's maid, Florence, move out into the country. And Lady Hardcastle, when she was married, her husband was a spy. He worked for the government, and technically everyone thought he was a spy, but it was actually her. She was the spy. But her husband still worked for the government and went all over on government business. And they asked her to spy for the British because he was going everywhere she was going with. So, Florence went with her lady's maid, who they're actually friends now because they've been through many, many things. But while they were overseas, her husband was killed, and Lady Hardcastle and Florence had to make it through. They were in China, I think, when it happened, and they had to make it through and get back home to Britain. And it took them a little while, so they've had a lot of crazy adventures in the past, and she's done with that. She just wants to move out of the country and live a simple life, but mysteries keep turning up. So her and Florence have to figure out these mysteries. It's really funny. She's a hilarious character. Her and the relationship between her lady's maid Flo is so funny, and she is somewhat of a scandal because Florence gets to eat at the table with her, and she doesn't. And she gets told Lady Hardcastle's business and all of these things. So it's just scandalous that you would treat a lady's maid like that. Anyway, super funny, so much fun. And the characters are great. I love them. This is the 5th book out of 6. I currently am missing number 4, so I will get that. So many things are happening. Okay, so they have gotten to Hogwarts. They've had their first few classes. Of course, I remembered Luna came in on this book, but I've always liked Luna, but never really kind of remembered parts of her personality and things like that. So it's really interesting to be introduced to Luna. I think she's so quirky and interesting, and then like the Thestrals come in, and Harry can see them because of course he saw Cedric die, so him and Luna have that little connection there. He of course doesn't want that connection. I forgot that she was in Ginny's year. I thought she was closer. I guess the rest of them are only a year older than Ginny. I keep feeling like Ginny's a lot older than, or a lot younger than them, but she's not. So it keeps surprising me that I'm in the 5th book, because I feel like they haven't been at Hogwarts. Like this can't be their 5th year at Hogwarts. So it's kind of weird to me that I keep going, oh, right, this is the 5th year. They're talking about owls and how they're going to have to take those tests. And Snape, guys, I'm not a fan of Snape. I know a lot of people love Snape and they think he's misunderstood and all of that stuff, but no matter how you look at it, Snape is terrible. Like, I just can't handle him. He, like, takes things out on kids. Like, the way he treats Harry is ridiculous. I understand that James was a jerk to Sirius and that he was bullied all the time in school and everything like that, but seriously, taking stuff out on a child because his father was mean to you 20 years ago is ridiculous. Like, it's so dumb. I can't really handle Snape. But like him still loving Lily, like that makes no sense to me either. That he does stuff because he still loves Lily. I just don't understand that. Like, I can understand loving someone and they're married to someone else and they die and you still love them that way, but like doing crazy things because you still love that person, like love that person, I just think is kind of weird. And Umbridge, like, oh, for some reason in my head I thought Umbridge was there like after Dumbledore was gone, but she's not. And I can't stand her. Like, her first class is crazy. I really see how, like, terrible she is, and just the way that she is talking to the students and telling them how they're going to act in her class and, like, just all this stuff. I'm kind of appalled by her already. And I'm listening to the audiobook, and the narrator does really well with her because she has this like almost high pitch but like quiet and kind of unassuming voice, but still you can hear like the steel behind it and how you don't want to cross her. So, yeah. Yikes. I can't remember if it's this book, but like Harry has just gotten detention and he has to go serve detention with Umbridge, and the quill that he has to use, is that this book? I can't even remember if it's this book. I don't think it is, because again, I thought Dumbledore was gone when she did all of this, because Dumbledore would have not stood for that. So I don't know. I am getting all of these last books clearly mixed up. But man, things are coming along. Yes, Harry is going to drive me crazy in this book. He will not shut up. He cannot control his anger at all. He is getting in so much trouble with Umbridge. He keeps having detentions and everything. And you'd think he would learn. He's starting to really drive me crazy. So I'm confused because I feel like Umbridge is already taking over Hogwarts, but Dumbledore is still there. So I'm not really sure why all of this is happening, because I really did think, I thought I remembered that she was doing this while he wasn't there. So I'm just a little. I don't remember the reason why he is not doing anything, because I feel like he should be doing something. I cannot handle her. Oh gosh, Umbridge is terrible. Although I am quite looking forward to when McGonagall gives her, like, the what for when she tries to, like, fire Trelawney? Fire Trelawney or something? Yeah, I think so. But maybe that's not even in this book. Maybe that's later. I just don't remember. Why don't I remember? But I did love when Trelawney, or when Umbridge was in McGonagall's class, and she kind of put her in her place, and that was awesome. I also loved when Harry went to McGonagall's office after his first detention, or after the first time that he blew up at Umbridge, and Umbridge gave him detention for a week. And McGonagall's like, "What'd you do?" And he's like, "Well, I told her that Voldemort was back and everything." And she's like, "Potter, sit down, have a biscuit." And I'm like, McGonagall, you are just... she's best. I love McGonagall, guys. She's one of my favorite characters. I even have her wand because she's the best. So yeah, McGonagall is great, and I just love her character so much. She's such a stickler for rules, except when it comes to Quidditch, which I love. But she's also, like, kind, and she is loyal, and she will stick up for the students and Dumbledore and what's best for Hogwarts. And I just love it. I wanted to update you before I went to bed because I haven't done any updates today, and I did finish Harry Potter. So, after I got back from work, I uploaded a vlog, for just the first couple of days. I got that uploaded, and then, while I was kind of waiting for that to process, I continued listening to Harry Potter, and I did finish it. This book, first of all, I really liked this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I do believe it's probably my least favorite book so far. But it's solely to do with a couple of things. First, I hate Umbridge so much. So much. And even how, like, she got her comeuppance doesn't even make me okay with all of the things that she did before. First of all, where are the adults? Where are the adults? Like, Harry is literally carving words into the back of his hand and bleeding all over the parchment, and no one's like, let's make sure she's not abusing students. Oh, she's the worst. I just can't handle her. I can't handle her. Yeah, so she's part of it because so much of her is just terrible that it's hard for me to read those parts. Like, it's hard for me to read about her because she's just legitimately the worst person ever. So that's part of my not so much enjoyment of the book. The other part is Harry. And Harry really drives me crazy in this book because he acts like a child all the time. I don't know. And maybe it's my Hufflepuff showing or that I enjoy rules or something, but I feel like if these people, so many people around you who have not ever let you down, are telling you to do something, you should maybe take their word for it and listen to them, even if they don't tell you the full reason of why they're doing this. And to me, I would have just done what they said. I feel like I would have just done what they said because I would have believed that they had my best interests in mind when they decided to do this. Um, so I just so every single time Harry did something, it was against what these people were saying, like everyone, and I just couldn't handle it because he's doing it's gonna blow up at him, like in the end it's gonna cause a ton of problems, but he's still doing it and he doesn't care because he's not listening to anyone. um so yeah, so that, like, it was too much of that, and nothing ever happened until the very end when he was like, I did all these things and I, spoiler alert, and I essentially, like, killed Sirius because he that's what he did. Everyone was telling him. Hermione even sat there and said, maybe Voldemort's doing this so you actually go into his trap. And he did. He went into his trap, the Order had to save him, Sirius died, and look what happened. Like, he just anyway. So this book, like, that was the reason why I gave it 4 stars. It was too much of Harry being a snotty little brat. Um and I could not handle that cuz literally he was that way until, like, the very last chapter. Yeah, it was like the very last chapter, or maybe the second to last chapter, when, like, Dumbledore sat down and told him the whole story and told him why, like, he had been asking him to do stuff and not talking to him pretty much the whole year, and why he wasn't making eye contact with him and all of these things. He sat there and he told him, and then Harry's like, "Oh, this is why all these things have been happening." Oh, Harry. I just couldn't. I really like Hermione in this book. I think that sometimes she doesn't get enough credit, and Hermione's great in here. I thought the conversation she had with Harry and Ron about girls and how they act was hilarious, and the whole Ron has the emotional range of a teaspoon quote is in this book, which is always a fun one. And just the little things like um the twins. I love the twins so much. The shenanigans they get into, how lovable they are. I just love the twins. Um and what they did to Umbridge with the firecrackers and the swamp they created and everything like that, and just the amazing exit they made because they're just great. That was so much fun to read about. I loved when Harry finally sat down and it told his story and they put it in the Quibbler and then everyone read it. I loved that everyone just kind of came back to Harry and the teachers were great. Sprout gave him 20 points to Gryffindor because he handed her a watering can. Like, Sprout, I love it. Just little things like that. And the ways the teachers would kind of undermine Umbridge in a way that made it so she was shown as ridiculous for the things that she was doing, but they were also kind of getting their jabs in where they could. Like, when the Weasley twins sent off all those firecrackers, and she had made all of these decrees and everything like that. And so every single time one would interrupt a class or like be in a classroom or anything, they would all be like, go get Umbridge, tell her there's some firecrackers here she needs to take care of. And of course the twins had bewitched them to like multiply, and they weren't easy to get rid of. And so all the teachers were like, oh, I can't do anything about it. You know, you're gonna have to go get her, and she takes care of it. Or when there was a swamp that the Weasleys created, and Flitwick could actually have taken care of it in 2 seconds, and McGonagall, but they didn't, because then it just made Umbridge's and Filch's like jobs harder. And I love that when Flitwick actually did take care of it, he left a little spot of the swamp because he thought it was great magic and that it needed to stick around. And I just thought, oh, it's just a visual representation of the twins always there in Hogwarts. So yeah, there are so many different things that were great. I had a hard time with Neville in at the hospital seeing his family. I didn't realize that was going to hit me as hard. But I have someone very close to me who has early onset Alzheimer's. So when he was in there and they were talking, and his grandma was talking about how, and about his parents and everything, and him just going there and seeing his family and stuff. That was unexpectedly hard for me to read, and I almost cried at that part. But yeah, so that hit me. I wasn't ready for that one. And then of course Sirius dying, and Sirius was like one of my favorite characters, and it hurts so much. He's gone and it just hurts. But I only have 2 more books in the series, and they don't get better, so I just need to just be ready. I just know that. So I have 3 books down, which go me. So I am only like 88 pages into Test of the Road, and I only have 2 days left, so I'm not sure I will finish it. I am a fairly slow reader, so I don't know if I will be able to finish it, but I will be reading tomorrow and Friday more, so maybe I can finish the book. It just kind of depends. I was thinking about editing a video to get it up, because I did split the vlog into a couple videos because it's quite a lot. So I probably will hold off editing anything and just read, because I did lose out on a lot of reading yesterday because I was editing the vlog, so I didn't get to read a lot after I'd gotten home from work yesterday. So we'll see how tomorrow goes, and I will update more later. Well, it's the last day of the Tome Topple Readathon today, and I didn't update at all yesterday. I didn't get to read that much yesterday. I read like 30 pages of Test of the Road, and I don't know. I mean, it's a good book. Like I'm enjoying it. Like I'm on page 118, and it hasn't really caught my interest quite yet. It seems like her adventure is starting right now, like right where I left off. Her adventure is starting, so I know it's like gonna get better from here, and it's not really bad by any means, but it's just not catching my interest fully. And my audiobook for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince just came in last night, and I've been listening to that all day at work, and while I've been driving from to work and from work. And I've gotten like 9 hours into it, and I don't really want to stop. So I don't think I will be finishing either book, actually, because Tess of the Road is over 500 pages, and there's no way I'm gonna read 400 today. I'm not a super fast reader, and I think I have like 11 hours or 10 hours left of Harry Potter, so that is not really going to work. I am listening at 1.8 speed, so technically it's not going to take 11 hours, but I have some stuff tonight. Me and two friends are going to do a Zoom hangout, so I'm going to do that tonight, and that we usually talk for a long time, so it'll be a couple of hours probably. So there's no way that I could, even if I was listening from now until midnight, I don't think I would finish that book. But I have decided that I will probably continue the vlog at least one more day so I can actually finish another book and then put my wrap up and stuff in the vlog and go from there. So I will probably continue on and do my wrap up of Tome, Topple, Readathon and what I've read and how I thought about everything. But I will try and finish Harry Potter tonight. I might get to it. I don't know. We'll see. Good challenge. So, I am going to do it. I'm going to finish Harry Potter tonight, and then that will be my 4 books for the readathon, which is pretty cool. I'm a little tired, which is kind of annoying because it's only like 8:30. It's been a long week, but anyway, so I just passed the part where Dumbledore and Harry, well, Dumbledore is telling Harry about the Horcruxes and what they are and what they do and what Voldemort did. And they have this really interesting conversation that I didn't remember. Well, I mean, there's a lot of this book that I didn't remember, so I mean, that is beside the point. But he said, they already know about the prophecy that happened at the end of the last book, and Harry was like, he read the prophecy and and he was like, so I have to be the one to kill Voldemort, or like neither of us can live while the other one is alive, and he said, so that makes it so I have to kill him. And Dumbledore tried to explain to Harry that it's not about the prophecy. He's like, the prophecy could be rubbish. He goes, but because Voldemort had heard that prophecy, he picked you. He decided on you because technically there were 2 options, because Neville fits the prophecy as well. But by singling, geez, I can't even talk, singling you out, he essentially chose you for that prophecy. And he was talking about how people inadvertently create their own nemesis, pretty much, like their own, like their opposite. And he said, what if he had not even heard the prophecy and him and Neville were both fine with their families and everything like that? Like, then the prophecy would have been no, and it wouldn't have mattered. But since he heard the prophecy, he picked Harry, and by doing that, he essentially created the person who could destroy him. And Dumbledore was like, think about it. If you didn't even know about the prophecy, if you hadn't even heard, if we didn't even know about the prophecy, how would you feel? And Harry starts thinking about all the people that Voldemort has killed. He thinks about his parents and Sirius and and Cedric, and he's like, I would still want to kill him. And Dumbledore was like, see, he's like, it has, you wanting to kill Voldemort has nothing to do with the prophecy. You're not doing it because of the prophecy. You're doing it because of what has happened to you in your life. And when Voldemort did that, he created his enemy. And they have this whole like interesting conversation about how we essentially create our own enemies. And it was very interesting. Like I agree. And this book is so good. This book, I love this book. It's, there's so much that you're learning about the characters and the backgrounds and what's been going on. You learn all about Voldemort's past and why he's doing all of this. And it's just, it's so interesting. It adds so much to the story that I've been waiting for. And Harry is no longer this like whiny child anymore. He kind of grew up from the last book, which is fairly interesting because I would think he'd be more whiny and terrible after Sirius died than after Cedric dying. But I think because everyone knows Voldemort is back, then he no longer has to feel that no one believes him and no one is on his side. So I think that's part of it as well. Also, he's older. Like he's almost 17. Um and so it's very much like I think he's definitely grown up a lot. And the one thing I thought was great was when they had their first potions class with Slughorn. Harry had was smelling the love potion, and he said he smelled treacle tart, a a broom handle, and something flowery that he remembers smelling at the Burrow. And right then you're like, oh my gosh, it's Ginny. So like you, when you smell the love potion, you smell things that you like. Like it smells differently than for each person. And he realizes it a little later when Ginny walks past him and he smells that flowery smell that he had done with the love potion. And it's him starting to realize that he likes her and that he he is not just, he doesn't have feelings for her like as an older brother. He notices, he's like, maybe I just care about her because I feel like she's my younger sister and all that stuff. And then finally he realizes, he's like, no, that's this these are not brotherly feelings. Like I really like her. Um and then Ron, of course, is dating Lavender, and so Hermione is upset about that, and Ron is, you know, they like each other, but they don't want to think about it or talk about it because why would you do that? um, but at one point, Hermione uh is decides to like help Ron with a paper. And Ron's like, "Oh, Hermione, I love you," and Hermione like doesn't say anything, but you can tell like she's so happy, like she blushes, I think. And it's just the start of those little relationships. And Tonks is really upset, and her Patronus has changed, and Harry saw it but didn't fully see it, and she saw that it has turned into a big four-legged animal. And Harry thinks that it's because of Sirius, because of Padfoot. And I'm like, it's not Padfoot, it's totally werewolf. And I just love it. Okay, just great. We need a little bit of happy things in here because the end of number 5 and 6 and 7 are just full of so many like deaths. The war is starting, right? The war has started. So many people are going to die.
this book is going to be hard for me because it's just going to be hard. And then the next book, gosh, so many people die, and it just makes me so sad. So I like this bit of love, I guess, in it because it gives it more of a lighter tone because pretty much everything in this book is very dark. We're talking about Voldemort killing people and taking pieces of his soul and putting them in things. Like he is just it's and every time Hermione gets the paper, she reads about someone being gone or more people dying, and people are just dying everywhere. It's all around. And so we need like a part of this that makes it funnier or more lighthearted. And even Fleur, oh my gosh, like Phlegm. I love how Ginny and Hermione call her Phlegm. It's so good. um but yeah, just even Bill and Fleur, like just even that there's a relationship there. Um and I loved the little scene when Harry's at the Burrow and he goes to the Burrow for the first time. And they've done extra um security around, and Molly asks Arthur a question, and then she has to answer a question for Arthur as well before she like lets him in the house. And the question he asks is, what do I call you when we're alone? And it was so funny because she like super blushes and she's like, oh my gosh, because Arthur has no idea that Harry's sitting in the same room with her. And of course Molly knows, and Harry like starts trying to make a lot of noise so he doesn't hear what. And I think it's like Molly Wiggin. What does he call her? Gosh, I can't remember now. I'll have to look at my book, go back to that place and see. Molly Coddle. I can't even remember, but it's just this cute little name, and that was a really cute scene too. So it's just those parts of the book just make it um just a little lighter, and being able to read those is it's really nice. So I'm loving this book. I'd forgotten how much I loved it, so it's been great reading it. But I will definitely finish it tonight, and I'll have another Harry Potter book done, and then I only have one more book on my reread, so that's a little sad. um but yeah, I'm gonna get back to listening. Well, it's done, and I almost cried like 5 times. um, the end of this book, man, it's rough. It's rough. Oh man, alive. It's just it's good, but it's terrible. um, and it just makes it even worse because I know what's coming in the next book. So it's just one of those things as well. Um, the things that were rough is Hagrid, Harry telling Hagrid that Dumbledore was dead, and how Hagrid was like, Hagrid was like, oh yeah, Dumbledore can fix it, it's fine. And Harry's like, no, Dumbledore's gone, like he can't do anything. And then Fox singing his song, and he was just so sad. And Lupin when he found out, and McGonagall. Oh, guys, it was so sad. It's just so sad. Um, and then the centaurs coming and the mer people coming to show their respects, and just everyone there because Dumbledore is the greatest. And then Harry thinking he needed to break up with Ginny, and Ginny like understanding, and Ron and Hermione being like, dude, you're not going anywhere without us. We don't care what you think. We don't care what you're going to say to us. Like, we're in this together. It's us three. We're going to do it. And then Tonks telling Lupin that she didn't care that he was a werewolf and that it didn't matter. And Fleur like telling Bill, or telling everyone because Bill was like not awake, but like telling everyone like it doesn't matter what he looks like. I don't care. I love him. So why would I care if his face is all messed up? And then and that's when like Tonks brought up the whole thing with Lupin and just everything, and how McGonagall was like, well, I bet Dumbledore would love a little more love in the world. And them talking about how they might have to close the school and not have kids come the next year, and when the minister is trying to talk to Harry at the end, and Harry says that Dumbledore will always be at Hogwarts as long as people are there who believe in him, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Until the end, he's still Dumbledore's man, and gosh, why is this so hard? Why do we feel this way about books? Like, why? Like, I'm trying to think about it because I'm literally crying over a fictional character, but I mean, what is it? What is it about this that can do this to us? Because I'm not really super emotional. I'm really not. Like, what is it? But man, Dumbledore. And gosh, the next book is gonna break me. It's gonna break me. Okay. So it is like 50 minutes to the end of the readathon, and I got my last book in. So I read 4 books. I read 1Q84, and I read The Secret History, and I read Order of the Phoenix and The Half Blood Prince. So I didn't get to Test of the Road, but I'll go back to it definitely, because um I did enjoy the beginning of that book, and I definitely still want to read it. So um yeah, man, I'm ending on a low note. It's rough.